it. Thank you, Josh. Also breaking at this hour, the U.S. launching its second round of strikes in 24 hours in response to Iran firing on ships in the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. forces hit approximately 90 Iranian targets, and Tehran responding by firing on American allies across the region. The back-and-forth attacks coming just weeks after a hard-fought deal to end this war. President Trump renewing his threat to, quote, finish the job.
We just hit them very hard, and I'd say we hit them 20-1. Every time they hit us, we're going to hit them 20. And we did it last night. They did a little something today, but it was really retribution for last night. They hit actually 3 boats, not 2. And when they hit, we hit back much harder.
Mike Tobin is reporting live out of Tel Aviv for us right now. Mike?
And Sandra, Iran has been firing at its neighbors. For the first time in this round of fighting, hostile aircraft have entered Jordanian airspace. The Jordanians say they shot down some 8 missiles. U.S. Embassy staff there was ordered to shelter in place. No injuries. The U.S. hit multiple targets, including bridges on rail lines that the U.S. says were used by Iran to transport weapons. Those were hit. U.S. Central Command says some 90 different targets were taken out in Iran last night. 80 were hit the night before. Now, Iranian state media reported explosions in southern port cities. Explosions in Bashir, home to that massive nuclear power plant complex. The U.S. says the targets were on the coast. The power plant was not hit. We've got video of explosions in the port city Chabahar. Iranian counterstrikes went into Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain. Kuwait says they shot down 3 ballistic missiles, a cruise missile, and 10 drones. The Kuwaitis also say 1 person was hit by debris. President Trump says the Iranians have been calling him and want to make a deal.
We've already won militarily. They have very little left, and they want to make a deal so badly. They called a little while ago. They want to make a deal so badly. I just don't know if they're worthy of making a deal. I don't know that they're going to honor the deal. That's the problem.
The 6-day funeral for the late Grand Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is now in its final day. Mourners in the casket crossed into Iraq, the holy cities of Najaf and Karbala. They're back in Iran today with a burial for Khamenei planned in the town of Mashhad, where he was born, where he received his religious education. Iranian notables, even one general who was marked for death, all made an appearance at this funeral. The no-show is the new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei. His security staff said security concerns were the reason he did not show up, but there's a lot of speculation that he was badly disfigured in this first round of fighting. Sandra, back to you.
Got it. Mike Tobin with the update out of Tel Aviv for us. Mike, thank you.
Sandra, over here on the board, we'll show you what we can here on the maps for what's happened this week. All right, you go back to Monday and Tuesday, July 6th and 7th. There were 3 different ships, 3 different vessels that were passing along this Oman coastline here, okay? And 3 of those were targeted by the Iranians, and that's what helped precipitate the U.S. response. So 2 nights back to back. We'll show you in a moment what they were going after, the U.S. military was. But if you look at this, the U.S. strikes in July 7 and 8. And just looking at this map, this is the entire coastline, Persian Gulf, Strait of Hormuz. All these targets up to the border with Iraq have been now in the sights of the U.S. military. By the way, this is no small coastline. It's about 950 miles long. The comparable geography would be the coastline of California. That's how big of an area we're talking about. The Iranians, in turn, yet again have responded, hitting sites in Qatar. The Navy's 5th Fleet in Bahrain was a target as well. And here in Kuwait, where the U.S. Army has a big installation there, the Kuwaitis are saying last night 3 ballistic missiles they intercepted, 1 cruise missile, and 10 hostile drones from Iran hit overnight. Over here on the big board here. So from July 7 and July 8, this is what we're looking at in the Persian Gulf and what the U.S. military is trying to control. Swing on over here. Night number 1, 2 nights ago, you had 80 Iranian military targets in their sights. They include coastal radar sites that I just showed you over there, some of these command and control networks and the anti-ship missile capabilities. Then last night, we had about 90 Iranian military targets, included a bridge in northeastern Iran, but primarily the similar sites here now, air defense systems, coastal surveillance assets, and these naval capabilities. There have been dozens of these small Iranian boats that have been taken out just this week alone. I'm going to bring in Dan Hoffman to join Sandra and me. And sir, good morning to you. Are we back at war?
Yeah, I think we are. Look, when Iran chose to strike those oil tankers transiting the Strait of Hormuz, that was a deliberate provocation. Iran had to have anticipated the United States response. And they did that because a state of war against the United States and against Israel and our Gulf allies, that's oxygen for this hardline IRGC regime in Iran. I think they also want to test the United States by driving up oil prices and disrupting trade, global trade, with an eye towards gaining some leverage in their interaction with the United States. I don't even know if we'll see negotiations as were planned before these strikes in Islamabad on 11 July. But Iran sees this as an opportunity, especially in advance of the midterms, to gain some leverage.
You know, Dan, this is a post from the Institute of the Study of War yesterday, late yesterday. Iran's behavior after the latest U.S. strikes indicates that the Iranian regime values control over the Strait more than avoiding renewed escalation with the United States. To your point about us needing to keep the Strait open and continuing to block Iran's oil exports, it seems to me what you're saying is this needs to be a continuous stop of any flow of money to Iran.
It does. We gave Iran an economic enticement by allowing them to export oil at market prices for some time, and Iran made it clear that they were not interested in negotiating in good faith. In fact, as successful as our kinetic strikes have been, we have not induced a change in the regime's behavior. Now, we changed the regime by launching decapitation strikes, and I'm sure that those potentially are on the table again, further decapitation strikes. If these guys don't want to negotiate, maybe the next round of leaders will. But I think that's at the heart of it, Sandra, that we need to ensure that the Strait of Hormuz is open, that we're doing that independently, while simultaneously blockading Iran from exporting oil.
Okay, let's take it a step deeper. Wall Street Journal editorial board. Trump tells the truth about Iran. He's right that Iran's regime has been wasting his time. It's the best in the world at that. 20 days in the memorandum of understanding, 60-day negotiation period, nuclear talks have hardly begun. Dan, we saw a different side of this president when he was in Turkey. Okay, now, a couple times, he mentioned willingly, he almost offered it to the reporters in the room, that he is Iran's #1 target. Here's one time that he said that. Watch here.
I'm #1 on the kill list for Iran. They're lovely people. I'm #1. So I don't know. I can't tell you that, but I don't really care because I'm doing my job and I'm doing it, I hope, better than anybody's ever done it.
Are you aware of any credible threat by Iran against Air Force One?
I have a threat all the time. I'm #1 on their list before you. But if I go, you go. Right?
But was there a specific
so perhaps someday you want to change professions.
Dan, what's the psychology here?
When I heard the president say that, it reminded me of my days at CIA when we used to brief senior U.S. officials on real threats to them. And that would have been the result of CIA human intelligence or signals intelligence, credible threats that required us to take countermeasures. And I think you saw the president, his security team, make the decision that they would fly back on the old Air Force One. Reportedly, that aircraft has enhanced security that the new Air Force One does not. So I clearly think this is part of the president's calculus. He's probably been told about some credible threats. And I'm thinking that he's probably divesting these concerns he has, personal concerns, from U.S. foreign policy. He's still trying to ensure that we get a better deal than the JCPOA. Now, whether that's through negotiation or through kinetic strikes remains to be seen. I think he's probably leaning towards military action to get us there as opposed to the negotiating table.
Dan, appreciate your analysis as always. Thank you.
Good stuff. Thank you, Dan.
All right.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.